My name is Zach Alexander. I'm the owner of the Sin Sable Company. And for the past 9 months, I have been pursuing a license for my company from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. This license is called a Federal Explosives License. I am looking particularly for the Type 20 Federal Explosives License. This is a manufacturer's license. And this process has been anything but straightforward. Unfortunately, the first 3 months of the process were spent in vain. I was ignored for the first 3 months. My tax stamp was taken actually in November of 2023, I believe November 15th, and it wasn't until January the 3rd of this year, 2024, that I decided, you know what, I haven't heard anything from anyone. I'm going to call and see what the status is. Well, on the FELC, the Federal Explosives Licensing Center website, it says that it takes about 3 months for them to process applications, and I had sent in all of the the paperwork and the fingerprints and all of the other things that are required of me, the tax stamp. And so I assumed they were just working on it on their end, and I would hear from them when they were ready. Well, I contacted them in January, and I found out that not only did no one have any record of my application ever being sent in, but there was not even a background check performed on me yet. And so that was a fiasco. We spent from January until around March trying to catch back up in the process. And so we resubmitted the application. I had to refill out the forms, get brand new fingerprints. I had to go through the whole process over again. And it wasn't until we got to March that we ran into a new problem, which was that they wanted me to spend $10,000 to $20,000 on a pre-approved Type 2 magazine. Now, there are a number of different magazines that you can use for the process, but for my case, I wanted to use a Type 1 magazine because it was easier for me to construct personally. Well, they came back and they said, oh no, you can't construct one personally. We'd need drawings, and we'd need an engineered diagram, and we would need you need to declare what materials you're going to use and all this stuff. And I was like, no problem, because I'm a chemical engineer. I've worked with engineered drawings for a very long time now. And so I drafted engineered drawings, and I gave them material data sheets. I gave them 3D models and diagrams so that they would have a clear understanding of what the magazine was to look like. And I submitted all that. Well, that was March. And then we went into April, and we were still negotiating. Well, okay, what is concrete? What is metal thickness? What is the coating of the inside of the magazine? What is this? What is that? And we finally got to May. It took me calling into the FELC Processing Center in Martinsburg, West Virginia, and saying, hey, look, I've submitted all of the things that I'm required to submit for the magazine. I've already gone through the background check, and I've submitted the application twice. We need to come up with a solution. It took me contacting them directly, and this was a whole 3 months into this magazine discussion, for them to finally give me the go-ahead and say, okay, you can build this magazine the way that you've drawn it, the way that you've described it, all the other things. Well, I built the magazine, and that was around the end of May that I got the magazine done. And we submitted everything. We took the measurements. Everything was measured correctly. And not even a week and a half later, I got more messages about, well, we don't know what concrete is. We don't know what the thicknesses are. And so you came here to my property. We're at my facility right now. You came here onto my property with your agents, and you measured this stuff yourselves. But you don't know what you saw. You don't know what it is. And we're back to square one. this dialogue went along for about 2 weeks, and then it was radio silence. And it's been radio silence up until now, and we're in August now, so it's been 4 months since that time in May, since I got back with them and I said, look, I've done everything you wanted me to do. I got clearance from Martinsburg to build this magazine. Everything else is done. I don't know what the holdup is. This whole process now has taken 9 months, and I'm still in a gray area. My company's in a gray area. We've had enforcement agents come out here, the criminal side come out here alongside the licensing agents, and they said, look, we're not looking to try to take you to jail or anything, but you can't sell your product, you can't advertise your product, you can't coordinate with anyone else. So I can produce and I can destroy my product here, but I can't produce and then have someone else involved with the destruction, or I can't do this, I can't do that. So many different, in my view, so many frivolous and pernicious constraints on my ability to move forward with my business model. And yet I haven't been spoken to, even now, even after they came recently. I had another visitation here a few weeks ago, and even then they had no update for the process of my licensing. It's been 9 months, between the 3 months of being ignored and then the 5 or now I guess 6 months of going through the process and going back and forth. And then, these past 4 months I've been completely ignored. At least I haven't heard anything from them. I'm sure they're keeping track of what my company's doing. But it's been 9 months in total that I've been working towards this license, and there's no end in sight. So, as it concerns the ATF, as it concerns the FEL Type 20, and I've heard this is the case for a number of other FEL holders right now, there's no clarity. There's no clarity on what the rules are. There's no clarity on how you're supposed to go about getting a license. When you go about getting the license, there's really no support. There's no one there making sure that the license is received. There's no one there making sure that the license is being processed. I had to call in 3 months after the fact to find out that they just completely threw my license away. They took the tax stamp in November, which I haven't been refunded, so I suppose my license is somewhere, but where it is, who knows? So it's been an arduous process, and I think it's made worse by the fact that a lot of these people in the ATF and outside and adjacent to the ATF and other branches of government and industry and whatnot, they're looking at us, they're looking at my generation, Generation Z, I'm 25, they're looking at us and they're saying, well, why do you want a license? You should be going to work for one of our companies. You should be going and producing our explosives, our devices. You shouldn't be wanting to get a license of your own to make your own explosives and to make your own devices. That's not what we envision for you. And that's a real shame. I think it's a betrayal of our American way. I believe it is a betrayal of the tenet of free enterprise, that the government, along with the Institute of Makers of Explosives, along with powerful conglomerates like Dyno Nobel and other energetics majors, are proliferating a system in the energetic space that essentially forbids any kind of competition from younger generations. It forbids any kind of independence or self-determination. And I've heard this across the board, whether it's people trying to get into gunsmithing, people trying to get into fireworks, people trying to get into high explosives like I am, or anyone else within the line. Even if you just want to work with the materials as a blaster or as a demolition technician or as an EOD technician for law enforcement, it's all the same story. No one has any clear direction from the federal level coming down. There's no clear objectives. I don't understand what the weight is from the ATF. They haven't made it clear that, oh, we're trying to fight crime, or oh, we're just backlogged and we need more personnel. They haven't said anything. You hear them in Congress and they talk about, well, we need more funding. But what is that funding going to? It's certainly not going to the Federal Explosives Licensing Center. So it's just a repeat in my view, a repeat disenfranchisement of the younger generations, of my generation, and of the generations surrounding my generation, millennials, Generation Alpha, and with all of the misinformation being put out at the federal level about how dangerous explosives are and how everything needs to be about safety, all this other nonsense. I feel that it is just a cover to try to get young people away from energetics, away from things that they consider a threat to their power, because let's face it, explosives are dangerous not only to us but to anyone who encounters them, and they don't like the idea that we might be able to use some power against them or hold power that they can't control. So I don't know if there's a good solution. I don't know if there's a way for us as Generation Z or as younger generations in general to really get past this situation without really questioning, do we want to live in a society where the only people with access to this kind of knowledge and technology are people who are taking advantage of us on a daily basis, decreasing our wages, treating us like we don't know what we're talking about, refusing to give us an opportunity to compete? Are these the kinds of people we want to be interacting with? And I would argue that they're just not the kind of people that we need to be interacting with as a generation.